Date is July 19th, 2019. Kevin Feige just got off the Hall H stage at San Diego Comic-Con and he just revealed Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We were entering a new age for Marvel with the success of Avengers Endgame and Spider-Man Far From Home. Marvel had concluded their first massive 11-year storyline, the Infinity Saga. The Marvel fanbase was excited for what was to come. Now it's 2025. It's been 6 years later, and Marvel has had an interesting time to say the least, with the now revealed Multiverse Saga being in full swing. Now, while I do agree with the fact that Marvel isn't the same as it was during the Infinity Saga, I will have to disagree with the argument of the whole Marvel is dead thing that has been going around for the past few years. The reason why I disagree with this is because of a few reasons, or rather obstacles, that Marvel has gone through in this whole time. The first obstacle, and the most clear one, being Bob Chapek. Oh, sorry, wrong thing. There you go. Bob Chapek. In 2020, Bob Chapek became the official CEO for Disney, taking the role from Bob Iger, and he basically focused on quantity over quality, and that's why we ended up going from this all the way to this. In the span of 2 years, Phase 4 of the MCU had a total of 14 projects, 7 films, and 17 TV shows. 16 projects if you want to count Werewolf by Night and Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special as a part of Phase 4. So yeah, Marvel had a lot of projects released, and of the 16 projects, I'd probably say that less than half of these projects are universally loved by the whole Marvel fanbase. Now this goes back to the whole quantity over quality subject because a lot of these projects were clearly unfinished in terms of editing, as you can see in scenes like Black Widow, Thor Love and Thunder, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, where it's very clear that there was still some editing that needed to be done to make the CGI and VFX look very good. Now, this was also due to the fact that because of this, editors had to work very quickly and they were rushed to a horrible extent, which is just really bad for the editors, for their own mental health. So it was just a real mess. Now, a lot of people blame Marvel themselves for allowing this to happen, for them to go down in quality, when in actuality, it's not exactly their fault. It wasn't their choice to do this. You see, in an article that was released a while ago, it was revealed that around the time that Marvel was developing Phase 4, Kevin Feige himself didn't want to do the TV shows because during this time, this was also when Disney was about to release Disney Plus, so they needed some TV shows, original TV shows. But Kevin Feige went along with it to satisfy the higher ups at Disney, and nowadays it's very clear that he in a way regrets that decision because one of the most common complaints that people have had with the multiverse, with the Marvel post Endgame, is that everything feels like homework. That's one of the reasons why films like the Marvels or the Thunderbolts failed financially, because casual audiences felt like they needed to watch shows like WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Black Widow, and Miss Marvel to understand what was going on in those two films alone. When in actuality, they really didn't. Those films had explanations of each character and who they were before you met them in that project. But also, people could have easily just gone on YouTube and just asked for recaps of the certain projects. So you could have easily just gone on YouTube and asked for a recap of WandaVision or Falcon and Winter Soldier just to understand what was going on in those projects by themselves. But I digress. People just didn't want to do that for some reason. Now, another obstacle that Marvel had to face was the whole Jonathan Majors situation. It had been revealed in 2020 at the Disney Showcase that Jonathan Majors had been cast as Kang the Conqueror for the third Ant-Man film. So this left Marvel fans very excited, finding out that Kang the Conqueror will be coming to the MCU. So when he made his first appearance as He Who Remains in Loki Season 1, and just feeling the weight of the situation of Kang coming to the MCU, and how Jonathan Majors was in a way able to make each Kang so distinct from one another, it was very exciting. We were all excited to see where his future in the MCU could go. And then Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania happened. The film didn't do good financially or critically, but Jonathan Majors got a lot of praise for his role as Kang himself. So people were still excited for him in the future to see where he could go as characters like Immortus or Rama-Tut or Scarlet Centurion. Marvel still had a chance. They had a chance to make a new quote-unquote Thanos. But then everything went crashing down when Jonathan Majors got arrested and ended with his conviction, and Marvel had to drop him. So then the debate came of whether or not Marvel was going to drop the King storyline, or they were simply going to recast Majors. Now, I'm still on the side that believes that there was still promise to the King storyline and thought that a simple recast would have been enough. But that wasn't the case for a majority of the fan base, as they felt like Kang wasn't threatening enough, which honestly I can't blame them because he got beat by a bunch of ants. But to the character's defense, in the comics, King gets beat like all the time, and that's why he's such an iconic villain. Is just the amount of times he will come back because of how many variants of him there are. But Marvel did not feel like King was threatening enough, so they had to improvise, which led to San Diego Comic-Con last year. It was revealed that the then named Avengers: The King Dynasty film was going to be retitled to Avengers Doomsday, and that the Russo brothers would be returning to direct both that film and Avengers Secret Wars. But not just that, the King storyline would essentially be dropped and have Doctor Doom be the big bad of the Multiverse saga. The kicker being that he'd be played by Robert Downey Jr., the Iron Man himself. Now, I'll always remember where I was when this news was revealed. I was on Discord with a call with my friends, JT Videos and Adrian Manray. Shout out to them. And when the news broke out that RDJ would be coming back to play Doom, the first thing I said was, this was a desperate move by Marvel to reel audiences back in. And again, I don't really blame Marvel for that decision, because at that point, Marvel was basically in the trenches in the eyes of the fans. And to be fair, they still kind of are. But now I believe that Marvel is slowly making their way out of it. Now, in 2021 to 2023 of Marvel, they were at their lowest point with Bob Chapek, the pandemic, quantity over quality, the whole Jonathan Majors and King situation. 2020, those were basically the dark times for Marvel. But 2024 was, in my eyes, where they started to slowly climb out of the trenches, as Bob Iger had returned back to the head of Disney, and he basically told Marvel to slow down, focus on quality over quality. And we saw them do that with the release of Deadpool and Wolverine being their only film in 2024, to the very good show of Agatha All Along, to even the animation of X-Men 97 Season 1. Those were all basically major hits for Marvel. And now this year, with the success of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Season 1, to Daredevil Born Again Season 1, even though it was a kind of a Frankenstein's monster, people still loved it. They loved that it went back to the roots of the original Daredevil series. Thunderbolts, along with Thunderbolts being a critical success, and Fantastic Four being a critical and hopefully financial success, Marvel is now slowly putting quality back into the picture for the remainder of the year, and we still have 2 more shows to go. We have Marvel Zombies, which could very likely be a hit or miss, because that was still in the works during the Chapek era of Disney, and we also have the third project to release of Phase 6, Wonder Man, which has Destin Daniel Cretton as the executive producer, and starring Yahya Abdul-Mateen II as Simon Williams, aka Wonder Man. Then in 2026, we have the second season of Daredevil Born Again, the Punisher special presentation, the Vision series, which looks to wrap up the WandaVision trilogy that has been made, along with the big dog himself, Spider-Man Brand New Day, and of course, ending the year with the release of Avengers Doomsday. And while the setup for Avengers Doomsday has now just begun this year with Thunderbolts, with the Thunderbolts post-credit scene and the Fantastic Four post-credit scene, it's slowly been allowing audiences to kind of, at least at the most, be intrigued to see what will happen in these 2 films, because it's very obvious from what Kevin Feige said that after Avengers Secret Wars, there will be a quote-unquote reset for what will be in the future, because now we're going to be entering a world where the X-Men exist and the Fantastic Four are in the same world. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the future will look for Marvel. And now we go to kind of the real question: is Marvel really dead? Short answer, no. Despite what everyone on social media, mainly Twitter, has been saying, Marvel is not dead. In my eyes, everything that has happened to Marvel, good or bad, has made Marvel come back down to reality and try all they can in storytelling to prove why they were special during the Infinity Saga. These obstacles that they faced have helped Marvel basically remember who they were when they first started out with the MCU, putting storytelling and true effort back into their films and now TV shows, where they're now putting full effort into their films, and they're now having their TV shows be actual TV shows and not just a 6-hour movie, which that was something that definitely killed the TV show brand for Marvel as a whole. They're taking their mistakes and using them to make them better for the future of the MCU, with the X-Men coming in the next few years. Marvel still has a long way to go to really bring full faith back in not just the general audiences, but also the diehard fans like me who want to see Marvel succeed. But with how Marvel is now learning from their mistakes, I think in a few years we'll look back at the Multiverse Saga not as a golden era for Marvel, but as an era where Marvel saw its failures and they took their failures, and that's what led them to coming back to the top, because if we're being for real, Marvel kind of needed to have a bump in the road, because there's no way they could have had as much of a gold streak as they had before.